All right, welcome back to the podcast, and hello.
Hello.
Different environment here in Studio B.
Comfy chairs.
We have a great episode
rug.
for you today. It is March 26th, and we are going to finally release our question and response episode that we did live a while back.
Mm-hmm.
We had people on the live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, asking questions in the chat, and we were able to answer and respond, and we went all over the place.
We went all over the place. It was great.
The emphasis, though, because when we did it, it was during Valentine's Day week, was on relationships. We got questions about marriage and porn and dating and intimacy and healing from grief and how soon to, go back to sex after you've lost someone. I mean, a lot of things that are real, where we're all living kind of questions.
Yeah.
We want to real quickly, before we jump into that, make that disclaimer. If you have kids or whatever in the car, this does go into some of that stuff. If they're teens, I would keep them in the car for it, because we talk about,
honestly,
how you should pump the brakes on intimacy when you're dating and build a friendship and a lot of that stuff. But wanted to quickly say, next week, April 1st, we release Blessed Are the Spiraling. Can you believe it?
I'm so excited for the world to get it.
Crazy, a week out. So if you haven't yet, pre-order a copy. Comes out on Tuesday of next week.
Mm-hmm.
And the giveaway for Nashville is still open. So if you want to win 2 tickets to Nashville, go to the Dove Awards, have a hotel, all of it gratis, as they say.
Yeah.
Go to blessedarethespiraling.com, get registered before that giveaway is announced. We did have a technical problem because we were on a live stream, and this was going to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We forgot to record locally the file. So for the first 2 questions, we're just going to use the YouTube backup. So the audio and the video quality for the first 2 questions will be different from when we hit record on the file. And that will then be the normal audio. The rest of it will be great.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of questions.
Oh, so many questions.
Scientifically, the number would be a bunch of questions. But for the first 2, there will be a noticeable difference in quality, and then it'll catch up, like 4K, beautiful audio, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get through it.
It's great.
But we just wanted to give you a heads up that
just so
is
you
what
know.
you're going to experience.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy this conversation, and we will see you soon. Next time we do one of these live streams, make sure you come on, because we'd love to have you asking questions.
Yes, we would.
In real time. Welcome to the question and response episode, everybody. I'm shaking an imaginary hand.
I think it's question and answer.
Yeah, but
Q&A.
The humble way to say it is question and response, as though to insinuate we don't have all the answers.
Oh, Q&R.
We're just going to respond.
Okay.
I mean, but here's the deal. We can give our answer.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's always going to be good, but it's our answer.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Where are we going, Jax?
All right. Well, we're starting today off with a really great question from Trevor_Jenkins22 on Instagram. And he wants to know, what's your best marriage advice for a couple who loves the Lord and is trying to decide if vocational ministry is for them?
A marriage advice, best marriage advice, specifically oriented towards a couple trying to decide if vocational ministry is for them. Feels like we have 2 different questions, right?
Because they're a couple.
They're trying to figure out if they're called a vocational ministry.
Mm-hmm. And what's the marriage advice for that?
What's the marital implications on vocational ministry, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, make sure you are specifically called to that, because the rigors, Spurgeon says, if you can do anything else, do it. Only go into ministry if you can't do anything else.
Right.
And he doesn't mean that like you don't have skill for anything. He's just saying, if you'd be happy to be a lawyer, go be a lawyer and honor God. If you'd be happy to be a baker or a scientist, go do that. There should almost be this, I can't not, meaning there's a fire in my bones.
Right.
And that fire is so strong that it's calling me that I know I'm supposed to do it. Otherwise, you won't have the resolve to weather the storms of ministry that are there and difficult.
Right. I think I would be curious as to like maybe what you guys were doing before you got married, kind of like even individually, like your passions, what lights you up, what you love to do. And obviously you want to do that together. But I feel like there's often like a calling that, yes, there's a calling on me, there's a calling on you, but we're called together to do what God's called us to do. So I feel like, I don't know. I love that you guys are asking this question and considering it and asking God what he's leading you in. And I think it'll be so clear as you seek counsel from people in your life and know that whatever you do choose, there's going to be hard things for whatever you do go with.
But specifically with opening yourself up to vocational full-time ministry, that spiritual attack is real, that intensity is real. And so if you're doing it without a sense of like my calling and election is sure, that's that language Paul said to Timothy, make your calling and election sure. If you're doing it without that, it won't be enough of a fire within you in your belly to withstand the storms that are going to come in the midst of it. I mean, because even if you do have that, there are still going to be bad days where you want to quit like Jeremiah did, like others did. So if you don't have that, so I would just say, make sure you both feel that sense of not like, oh yeah, could be cool or whatever, but there's a sense of that, no, we're called by God to do this. And that will give you the grace to weather those difficult days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean every specific nuance of it. Like you and I moving to Montana, we didn't know for sure that this was specifically the call of God in our lives. We thought maybe it was, and we've watched him work in such a way that it seems surely that God's in it. But we both knew that we were united in what our calling was on our lives to vocational ministry, and we were united in that. And I think we both felt that. And I think that was part of one of the reasons that we were so drawn to each other is we both saw the future as the same, and we thought we could continue to do that together. Because how hard would that have been if only you had that or if only I had that call and we were both unequally yoked in that way, not just in the salvific way. Yeah.
Salvific?
I mean, it's just...
I've never heard that word.
Pertaining to salvation.
Salvific.
Okay.
I appreciate that when you say words that I don't know and learn.
What do you think about like best marriage advice period though? Because that's such an intense question.
Gosh.
So assuming they are called to ministry.
Okay. Assuming you're called to ministry.
What advice would you give to a couple?
Well, I just love that that God's our shepherd and that he's your shepherd. And so as he calls you, as he leads you, he is going to be faithful to lead you in the valleys, in the mountains, in the good pasture. Like he's going to be faithful. So I think knowing that you're both trusting God individually and letting him shepherd you, but knowing that he's also going to shepherd you together. And I think for both of you, knowing that you each hear from God, coming together and having like conversation about, hey, this is what I'm thinking God might be leading us in, and then talking about it together and then seeing what God does. And I think there's being newly married, I'm just trying to go back to when we were newly married. We didn't know a lot of things. We just knew that we loved God and wanted to serve him. So there's a beauty in just the simplicity of trusting God and knowing that he's going to lead you. And so I would just say run with what God calls you to do, run in it. And when you're doing it together, doing it selflessly as possible and preferring each other as much as possible.
Don't let ministry creep into every corner of your marriage. You know, like have date nights. Like we catch ourselves a lot. We'll be out on a date night or dinner or whatever, and we'll find ourselves letting work conversations creep in, and one or both of us will allow it a little here and there. We're not like legalistic about it, but I would say we often, one of us will go, hey, that's enough of that. Let's just have fun, you know, have fun and not let that, you know, you need to have just time when you're off duty as well.
Yeah. But I also feel like we've dreamed together so much and have been excited about things that it's like you said, we're not legalistic about it, but there have been dates where we're just like dreaming about what God
I'm
has
saying
for
is
us.
when the less than pleasant parts of it start to dominate.
That's true.
The undesirable parts, the parts of ministry that it's like, that's why we get paychecks, right? Because there's all parts. So there's the preaching, you hardly feel like I shouldn't get paid to preach. I would do that no matter what. You know what I mean? Leading someone to Christ. Are you kidding me? But then it's like, there are parts of ministry, they're like, yeah, that's why I take the paycheck.
Right.
You finish a day and you're like, that's a day where we get paid for. So when those parts, I'm saying
That is true.
creep into it.
No, that's good advice.
I love that. Great answers.
Thank you, Trevor, for the question.
All right. Next up, we have a question from Heather and Toby and Phil Wickham, Forever BFF on YouTube. And then
Wait, are you saying Chill Fickham's got a fan?
Yeah. On
what,
YouTube.
What's the question?
Tune in. It's what's your favorite thing about each other?
About me and Phil? You know,
Yes. I
think it really comes down to a sense of style. You know, we really just have that in common. I was telling
He
you,
is funny.
he's so
He
funny.
is so funny. Like a really great hang. Like
He's great hair.
joking, funny, happy, kind, joyful. Like he's just a really fun guy.
He's down for an adventure. You know, I was telling him he should come out here and go ice fishing, him and his son Henry. And he was just like, absolute. Like he just is up for the adventure, up for the joy.
Yeah.
Now for me and Jennie, the wife of my
We love you, Phil and Mal. You guys are fun together too.
Absolutely. I mean, Jennie, how long do we have? How much tape do we have in these cameras? How long will the internet hold? Because there's so many things. But you're here for it. You're always have been there for it, for the adventure, for the joy, for the laughter, for the hard parts, for the work. You're just there for it. You're such a wonderful companion. I was reading today this commentary that was saying man was empty and had a vacuum and the wife needed to fill it. And without being too crass, I mean, like in spooning, like you come together. There's a way in which you come, like the bodies were meant to come together. We have children because of the way our bodies come together, but it's also, that's a picture of the way that we come together and complete each other to become one flesh. Like I just feel like that you're such my compliment, and I feel like I'm such your compliment, and there's just something so wonderful about it, and about you.
Thank you. So kind. I love how your brain works. Like it's so different than mine. And I'm so grateful for that. Like the way that you ideate and dream and have vision, and your ideas are just like, it's so I think there are a lot of couples that are like, I don't want you to fix my problems. I mean, we've been there where I'm like, just hold me. I don't want you to fix my problem.
And we've been the other side where I've been like, hey, I just need you to listen. I don't actually want any
Jennie,
help here.
don't try to fix my problem because you don't know the answer. But
or the other one is like when you're like, I say a little thing and you're like, well, let's just blow it all up. I'm like, whoa, that stresses me out.
Hey, those are usually low moments for me. Tabasco.
Stop.
Okay. Okay. So
say less.
Our dog did something bad, and I was like, we should just give him away.
He did
and
something
I really offended Levi.
Yeah, because I said, I think I'm going to just take him and give him a bath. And she's like, what if we get rid of him? I'm like, what? No, I can clean him. This is not irreparable damage.
Oh, okay.
You just were having a hard moment with Tabasco in general.
Yeah.
But he heard you. He heard you say it. Dogs have a long memory.
But I just appreciate how you generally do have a good answer and a great solution to what a problem is. Because I feel like I face a day and I see all the the holes or the problems or the things where this is not going to go right. I don't know how this is going to work, and I'll tell you about them, and you'll just be like, oh, well, boop boop bop bop beep beep boop boop bop bop, and you literally connect all the dots for me. And I appreciate your brain and who you are, and I just love how different we are. And I think I've seen over 20 or almost 21 years of being married, like I think I appreciate the differences so much more now, where before it was more like I was frustrated that you weren't like me. I was frustrated that I wasn't more like you. And like, just how is this even gonna work? But the differences are so clearly complementary. And like the way we see the world, the way we do life is so different, but how God brought us together is so beautiful. And so I love you.
I love that. I love you too.
All right. The next one actually goes directly to you, Pastor Jennie.
Ooh.
They said, Jennie, could you also talk about the commitment you made to stay single for a year? And that's from X Kelsey on Instagram.
Thanks, X Kelsey on Instagram.
Worst year of my life. I call that the year of sorrow and tears and cold showers.
Wow. All righty. Okay.
That was a great year.
So
2002, right? 2001,
no,
half
that
of
was
1 and 2.
2001, 2002. Yeah, when I moved to Albuquerque, and I was part of an internship that one of the rules was no romantic dating relationships. And I had just come out of a relationship. And honestly, like my whole life, I just wanted relationships, been in relationships, like just always wanted a boyfriend, always wanted someone. And like can go back to preschool and like remember like the crush I had in preschool. And I feel like every year it was like a different guy. And so then I graduated from high school, was dating this guy that I thought I was going to marry. And he broke up with me. And I had a whole year of being in my hometown where I was just like, I don't even know what's going on. And then went to Albuquerque, New Mexico from California, where I made the decision, okay, I'm going to just...
Did you know you couldn't date when you signed up for the internship?
I think so.
So you were eyes wide open on that decision. Yeah. It wasn't like
and I was
gotcha when you read the fine print.
Right. Because I was ready. I was like, I just need to focus on Jesus. And I want this to be a year where there's no distraction. And it's just, I'm all into whatever God asks me to do. And so that was fall of 2000.
September 11th. It was September 11th, all that.
2001. Yeah.
It's right there.
And then when I moved to Albuquerque, you moved back from England that December, I think. And that's when you and I met. And so from that moment forward, I mean, we were serving in youth ministry.
Till like July or whatever it was, yeah.
We were just serving in ministry together, but it was very clear that you liked me. And I did like you, but I was like, this is not happening.
Cool. But it was so great.
It was so
I
great.
joke about it being the year of sorrow, but I think the power of Jennie and Levi today is that year.
Mm-hmm.
Because we forged a friendship without, I mean, obviously no sex.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have sex till we got married, but also no, making out, no, the dating stuff, the hard eyes, the googly eyes. We just became friends.
Yeah.
And that friendship that might not have gotten fashioned so powerfully had there been the distraction. Because and even when we started dating, we didn't kiss for quite a while. And we just tried our hardest to push everything towards the altar. That was our goal there.
Yeah.
So what filled our time was the thing of friendship, of conversation, of sharing, of ideas, of dreams, of all the things, even without holding hands. So that today, here's how I always say it. There are massive amounts of time where we are not having sex. In fact, dare I say, the majority of our time. And I know when you're single, you think, man, marriage is just all sex. That's all it's ever going to be. But even if you have the most active sex life in the world, there are still going to be 23 and a half hours a day where you're not making love, or whatever it is. And so a lot of people focus in their dating on what is fundamentally going to be the most insignificant part of the marriage.
Yeah.
And the one part that kind of just takes care of itself. I mean, that's an over-exaggeration, but
yeah, but
the part that's going to take a lot more work is the waking hours when you're not sucking face, So I think to focus in your dating and in your engagement on the friendship aspects and before dating begins is not a mistake.
Yeah.
So pump the brakes and slow your roll and focus on that friendship, because I think today, 22 years later, having gone through a lot of grief and a lot of hardships and a lot of challenging things that can destroy marriages, we keep relying on our friendship.
Yeah.
And so if you think of it like a sundae, I like to think of the friendship is the ice cream and all of the intimacy and stuff is the cherry on top. It's great. Who doesn't love a good cherry on top? But don't build your sundae
They're
backwards.
bad for you though.
No. Okay,
Maraschino cherries.
RFK is going to get them. They're gone. No more maraschino. But don't build your marriage on a flimsy cherry and try and rest a lot on it.
Yeah.
Put the Lord and each other's friendship and and the church community, build that up that way. And then, all the other stuff will be a joy when it comes, but don't date in such a way that erodes your ability to weather storms down the road.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that picture of the sundae. And I also love sundaes. I don't like banana
No,
sundaes.
you like the chocolate sundae from Dairy Queen with no nuts?
I don't like the nuts. But I also love the ones at McDonald's as well.
The McDonald's sundae.
Yeah.
McDonald's
But I like both of them.
Ice cream to me doesn't taste like ice cream.
Oh, it's so good.
It tastes like chemicals
Wow. Maybe
and water.
Maybe it's what I grew up on. And it's just what
I mean, I'm sure
what
the
I
Dairy
know.
Queen cream is no better, but it tastes at least like it's got milk in it.
What about Chick-fil-A ice cream?
I don't ever eat ice cream at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I just
Too busy going, I can't be eating.
I just
ice
have such
cream?
a weakness for an ice cream cone.
I've never
at
seen you
Chick-fil-A,
eating ice cream at Chick-fil-A.
probably because I do it by myself in the car. The kids.
You shaming? You shaming alone? Is
No,
that
the
where you were
kids,
this
the
afternoon?
kids.
Where's Jenny? She's at Chick-fil-A. It's 3 degrees out. She's eating an ice cream cone in the car? Have
Yeah.
you eaten Chick-fil-A ice cream in your car by yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's so wonderful.
Wow.
And I'm alone in the car. Well, the kids have seen me. They know.
You said it like everyone does that. People of the internet?
Alicia does.
Have you eaten Chick-fil-A ice cream alone in your car? I'm sure. Okay.
I have as well.
Jax?
I eat Chick-fil-A ice cream alone.
Leon?
all the
Thank
time.
you.
You're
Thank
not
you.
You
alone.
can't have Chick-fil-A ice cream.
No.
Okay, well,
Well,
how about Owen?
It's just
No. Yes to Chick-fil-A ice cream in the car by yourself?
Nate.
Were you crying?
No, not Nate. Braden?
Braden's gone. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Hello.
You down with that Chick-fil-A ice cream in the car?
I don't eat Chick-fil-A ice cream. I don't think I've ever ordered
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A
me too,
ice
bro.
cream.
I'm with you.
Wow.
Have you had their cookie, though?
I think so.
That is the literal truth, that
Oh,
Chick-fil-A
that
cookie.
is-
Okay, but
So
the real
good.
thing that's Chick-fil-A that everyone needs to have is the peppermint milkshake during
No,
Christmas
no.
time.
We're not doing that.
Oh, come on.
We're not doing that.
That sounds amazing.
Have you never had it?
No.
Oh,
you guys, exchange phone numbers. Talk about it later. Okay, we have a job to do here.
Okay, no, but I love that because it's such an obvious, clear picture of what your relationship has to be based on. Like you said earlier, we've gone through hard stuff in our
Yeah.
marriage. We've gone through loss and challenges and lots of things, but it has been just obviously Jesus is the center of our relationship, but it's our friendship. It's
Sex
our
has always been an
relationship.
important part of our relationship, but sex has not been what sustained us through those difficulties.
Right.
But our friendship and our walk with God has.
Yeah.
And so in your dating and engagement, and then obviously in continuing your marriage, focus on the things that build those tools. Because when you're dating, it's so easy just to kiss and make
Mhm.
out. And that's so tempting, but you don't actually get closer in that way.
You feel like you're getting closer.
Yeah, it feels like we're so close, but you're actually not that close. You're just,
Can I
getting-
be like extra vulnerable
Sure.
for a second? So
I wish you would.
Well, after Lenny went to heaven, I think it was maybe 2 weeks before we had
Before
sex.
we could, yeah.
And I think that, we were
may have been even a
grieving.
little
It might
longer
have
than
been
that.
longer, but I just think that when you're grieving and you're hurting, like, not that we didn't want to, it was just we didn't have,
Oh,
we weren't
broken.
eating, we
Yeah.
weren't so we literally didn't lean on the one thing.
That's where you're going with it. Yeah, we did.
The one
lean on
thing that so many people do lean on, and I just think that even for me, just saying that and remembering that is like there has to be more than just physical.
If we did something right, and a lot of it was that decision that you had made coming in that even brought us together, it was a friendship without distraction that grew strong,
Mm-hmm.
that today continues to be what our relationship rests on.
Yeah.
It's the ice cream, and then we get the beautiful cherry there, which is important, and it keeps the devil from getting a foothold. And don't get me wrong, you are waging war against division by coming together physically in unity.
Yeah.
But don't get it backwards and don't get it twisted when you're in the dating and engagement era. Not just the actual sex, but also everything leading up to that.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, we had the privilege of getting to meet in church and in ministry. And so when you're working hard to serve in youth ministry and in missions, and it's like you're doing stuff. So I think that's something that's so helpful, is just being on mission when you're single, because I hope if you're single, you do meet someone in the church and you guys are doing ministry together, even if it's not vocational ministry, that you guys are serving together. But
especially if you're not in vocational ministry.
Yes, especially.
And when you get into vocational ministry, don't get so rigid with your hours that you're like, nope, I'm off now, clock now, right? And stop serving and having that heart.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. So the way I say that in Swipe Right is, don't just play the field. Make sure you're in your mission field.
Yeah.
See that the fields are ripe for harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Make sure that the purpose of your marriage is linked up to the purpose of the ultimate marriage.
Yeah.
The marriage between Christ and his church. And if your marriage isn't in sync with the heartbeat of the capital M marriage, then what's the deal, bro?
Right. Bro.
Get that synced up.
So good. Well, we went a little off
wild,
but Kelsey, thanks for your question.
Okay, so y'all actually touched a little bit on in that answer the next question.
Is it a follow-up?
It kind of is, yeah. So Meg Mech wanted to know on Instagram, would you say that intimacy through grief is important to stay united as you both grieve separately? Through the loss of our son, we were told a high percentage of those who lose a child end in divorce.
That's
so let's drill down on that a little bit, because you said it was weeks, and I think maybe longer than 2. It might have been closer to 3, because you're grieving. Jennie had said there was a time when it wasn't obviously where our minds were at, and I don't think the desire was there for either of us, because we were just in full blown shock, survival, trauma.
Yeah.
Because Linya died so suddenly, and every situation's different. So a long lingering disease or death is different in different ways. You do some of the grieving on the front end. I mean, but I can't speak to all of that.
Yeah. And being parents, with us grieving your dad going to heaven, I feel like that's even a different situation, because I was really more supportive role. You were in the depths of grief. So even that situation's different. It's, but it is I think what the question brought up of divorces there's a high percentage of divorces for couples who lose a child. And I think intimacy, we were intimate in grief in the sense of we held on to each other and didn't let go.
To keep from standing up, falling down.
Yeah.
But I would say after, let's get through. What do you think the Egyptians mourned for 40 or the Hebrews for 70? They had, there was days of grieving. And back in the day in America, you wore an armband till you were done grieving, so people could know, hey, they're okay now. And that was kind of a cool tradition. And it stopped during World War II when so many were dying that everyone would have had an armband on.
Right.
So, but up until that point in America, you pretty much wore an armband to tell the world, I'm still grieving right now. Give me some extra room.
Yeah.
And I would say for both of us, when that kind of period started to slowly subside, we really did rely, of course, we relied on the beauty of intimacy sexually to keep us strong and to keep the devil from getting a foothold. Because if you don't, the grief will cause there to be such a unhealthy place in your heart that you'll then be ripe for an affair. It's for someone else to come in and, give you your emotional validation or your physical satisfaction. And I think the enemy would love to see, maybe that's partially why in grief, it's like, I'm hurting, I can't, and the other person needs that. And I think, you do have to, for a season, Paul even says, fast from sexual relations, but then come back together so that you're not going to be tempted. And maybe during grieving, you need more prayer and you can't give that in a minute, but there does have to be a time where you set aside your own personal needs, even if they're spiritual or personal emotional needs, for the sake of the marriage, right?
Yeah. Well, and from what I remember, it was comforting in the sense that I feel like I'm saying a lot, but like I remember crying and like I just think that it's such a difficult thing, and people are gonna grieve differently. People are gonna like respond to things differently. But I think knowing that in marriage, like we need to, like, there has to be intimacy continued. It can't be like, oh, I can't, or if like it, and I think that's what's so beautiful about selflessness in marriage is that sometimes it is like, oh man, I don't feel it, but I want to serve my spouse.
But there's also incredible emotional release there on the other side of that fear, and it's a gift. It's part of how God has wired us. I think it's very helpful. And so if you're a grieving couple, even if it's a daunting thing, I talk about running toward the roar into the eyes of a lion, all of that can be connected. But there is, and there's a lot of science and data that talks about comfort as a byproduct of sex. Literally, I think you'll hear about so-and-so died. Isaac was comforted by his wife after the death of his father.
Yeah.
I think it's
his
Genesis, mother? After the death of his mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah dies, Isaac's grieving, but then he's comforted by Rebecca.
Yeah.
And that's Bible speak for intimacy that helped comfort and heal his heart.
Right.
So there's our scriptural basis for that assertion that we've made.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The next question comes from Facebook. Jonathan Webb wants to know, what ways do women want a man to say hello or to give a compliment to a woman for the first time without being weird or disrespectful?
So for the first time, like just, hi, how are you today? Not like in a romantic way.
Sup. That's what the girls like.
Oh.
Sup. But like with one hand pulling your pants up. Sup.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jonathan.
Man, how far removed are we from knowing what a twisted world it is with augmented reality and blurred lines between social media, and you've probably already crept on the person before you ever say hi. Like, what a different day it is.
That's wild.
Sup. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that. Keeps drifting. I was just thinking that the YouTube thumbnail when this episode comes out could say like sexual healing, like we've got, isn't that a Marvin Gaye record?
Oh yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Sup. I don't know how to say hi to a girl.
Gosh,
look her in the eyes, put your phone down, introduce yourself, right?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hey, how we doing?
How are you today?
Sup.
Wow, that's great. Good. Yeah. I think just common courtesy.
Off, yeah.
Like common courtesy of, I don't know.
Ask a question.
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, I think one thing one of the things I love about you is your curiosity. And I think that is something that will take you far. And you've said that curiosity will take you so far. So if you're interested, even if you're just wanting to get to know someone or like have a conversation with somebody and you're just meeting someone for the first time, it's like having just curiosity and letting the conversation flow and go and let them answer and listen to their answer and respond. And if that's something, and I honestly, I would say that is something that I have had to grow in, because I feel like I get so I have in my life gotten so timid of like, oh, I don't know what to say. I just get so, I have gotten so scared, but I've learned that as you ask questions and you're genuinely like, wanting to learn and know, that's the best for
People's
conversation.
favorite subject is themselves. So ask questions and you'll have an endless amount of answers. Right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know.
All
That's
right.
good. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan
Thank
Webb.
you. Bye.
All right. Next up, John on YouTube wants to know, what would you say is your favorite dinner date spot to go to?
Anywhere in the country? Let's do anywhere in the country. Well, there's a place I want to take you. Place I want to take you so bad that I haven't got to yet is at Carbone.
Oh yeah.
That's like I had this.
We haven't gone there yet.
No, I took Olivia there and we had the greatest meal ever. And I'm
Somehow I buy that
they still
that marinara sauce at the store.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's incredible. There's a bunch of them now. It started in New York, but I want to take you. That's my like to do take Jennie
Okay.
to. They have like Vegas and LA and
That sounds amazing.
all over the place now. I think they have a Dallas one now.
Ooh, pasta.
You will love it. Jennie and I got to go to Italy for our 20th wedding anniversary this year. And that meal we had at that hole in the wall place in Milan,
Mm-hmm.
we went to lunch. There was like being in your grandma's house, like sitting at the table in her kitchen. And we just, every kind of pasta you could imagine. We had like 3 different kinds of pastas for lunch.
Honestly, I think that was my favorite meal.
That's my favorite place to take you for a date.
Mm.
Mamma Mia's in Milan.
Is it Mamma Mia's?
I don't remember the name of it. It's called a greasy spoon. There's an Italian paraphrase of that. A greasy spoon. There's a word in Italian for a greasy spoon. Like we would talk about like, Waffle House, like a greasy spoon, not a nice place. Like a good, and it was under that list. It was a Louis Vuitton website actually where I found out about it. There's like a guide that's curated by Louis Vuitton of places for different cities.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, don't just go to the nice places, go to the greasy spoons basically. And I found that for Milan, which we were only there to see the Last Supper painting.
Right.
Everything else we were just leisure. That it was like we went straight to Milan, saw the Last Supper, bailed, but we had one meal there.
And it was the best.
Ended up being our favorite meal of the whole trip.
Yeah. So good. I love anywhere that we go together.
Wow.
I love Taco Bell with you.
It's amazing.
I love...
What's your order at Taco Bell? Do you get ice cream there, you weirdo?
They don't sell ice cream, or else I would.
If they did, would you?
Yes.
They have. I had a Choco Taco at Taco Bell back in the day.
Choco Taco.
Yeah, I mean, it's on brand. It's a taco with ice cream in it.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah.
No, I get the nachos, Doritos Nachos
Locos
Taco Supreme.
You like a chalupa too, usually.
I do. I've been trying to just get one thing whenever I go, because there was a season where when we would go to Taco Bell, I would get like 5 things.
That's too much.
I know, but because I loved all these different things. But so I've been trying to just order one thing.
I'm always a sucker for their special. I'm like, ooh, it's new and different and it has a strange name. But like the thing that I realized one day was, it's all the same.
It is all the same.
No matter what you order, it's all the same.
The chicken, I don't love the chicken at Taco
like the
Bell.
beef.
I like the beef.
And that Baja Blast, man, it slaps. They have it in a can now.
I know.
It's very good. I also like taking you to breakfast dates. Remember when, right after Lindy went to heaven, speaking of, we did only breakfast dates for a while because night dates were hard. So that's like gateway drug style. And I'm not endorsing drugs. I'm just saying the gateway drug to us getting back to date nights was date mornings. And
yes,
if
we
you're
would take
feeling
bike rides.
intimidated by whatever aspect of healing from grief, there could be baby steps towards it, is all I was trying to say.
That's a good word. It's good.
Yeah. Maybe just hold hands for a while. You know what I mean? You can find your way back towards that. But I mean, Lynn, to be completely candid, and this has been the theme of this whole deal, Lindy went to heaven on a date night.
Yeah.
So that was like traumatizing to come back around to a Thursday night date night, which to this day, and we still are there. It's Thursday night, tonight. It's our date night. Here, this is it. Here we are.
Here we are.
Entertain us. of course, people are listening to this later, but we're Valentine's Day week recording this with people live watching and streaming and getting to chat about all these things. So that's fun.
Yeah. It's good.
Yep. Oh, when we first got married, remember our date nights? Costco. We were so broke.
Yeah.
But it was a great date nights. Here's the thing. We never let our budget dictate our level of conviction. We were convicted that date nights are important. So we didn't say, well, when we have money, we'll do it. Well, when we have time, we'll do it. When it's convenient, we'll do it. We really have had the regular rhythm of date nights since 2004.
Yeah.
And when we couldn't afford much, we would go get a hot dog and a soda for like $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And those were great date nights.
Oh, I love those. Those are
We
yummy.
sat there at that little table.
We should go do that later.
The fixed furniture.
Yeah.
Back then, Costco had churros, so we would have a churro.
Oh, gosh. Yes, that's right.
I think there was even a date night or two where we couldn't even afford that, and we just got samples and went home. But we still had a great time.
Yeah.
And if you say, oh, I'm waiting till I can take my wife to Italy to take her on a date night, romance works on any budget, just like faithfulness, just like generosity. It's not about how much you have. It's about what you're willing to do with what you have.
Yeah.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight, Jennie. It's the size of the fight in the dog,
Very good.
All right.
All right, we've got time for a couple more.
Oh,
So
we're not in
next
any hurry. We're
one.
going on 100 hours. We're never ending.
Okay.
Well, that'll be interesting by the end.
Yeah.
Our answers.
All right. So next
Remember
one.
when Pastor Stephen released Sun Stand Still and did a 24-hour live stream and preached for 24 hours?
That's crazy.
He had a binder of every sermon he ever preached. And he sat there he said, I'm going to preach for 24 hours. And he did just nonstop sermons and talks. He would have restroom breaks and he would drink Diet Mountain Dews. And they had an icon that showed up on the screen every time he had a Diet Mountain Dew. And he made it 24 hours. And his team was all there. They stayed up. The sun stood still for the day of the release of that book.
Wild.
I said,
remember
man,
that.
you're going to live a shorter life because of that one day. That's intense.
Like a lock-in.
That was a great, remember that era?
Yeah.
That was very exciting.
Wow.
The crazy things we did in that era.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome. That's so cool that he did
Isn't that
that,
wild?
but like crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
you ate all the different hot, spicy things for your book release. I did a live boxing lesson with my boxing instructor. Remember that for Out of Clear War?
Yeah.
That was the era of you did a big thing, a big spectacle for your book release. And then I think we all realized it ended up not changing anything on how many books you sold. It just
But we
was
had fun.
being crazy. And
I loved mine.
the Fight
Eating
to Flourish
spicy
Fiesta.
and then getting on a Soul Cycle bike and doing a little class.
I haven't done anything for a book release since then.
I know.
I think
And that's good too.
went to Taco Bell and had a nap last time a book came out.
That's the best.
Yeah, well, there you go.
All right. Well, next up, Robin Nicole Kim on Instagram wants to know, as a pastor's wife, I have struggled to develop mutual two-way friendships within our place of ministry. Any tips on this?
Thank you, Robin. That's such a good question and such a good, hard place to be, but a good place to be. I think it takes time. And I think there's seasons also. What I've learned in my life is that there are seasons of friendships, and I've learned I can't hold on too tightly, but really have a loose hold. Like the people who are in my life, I hug tight. People who leave my life or are not in my life anymore, I bless them as they go. And I'm saying that now from a long time of having had a hard time with this very thing. And I know when we moved from Albuquerque to California, it took me almost the whole time we were there, which was almost 2 years, to really find some good, close friends that was a mutual give and take. And I think sometimes it just takes a while because you learn that you can't bare your soul to every single person, and nor should you, because
Jesus
that's not
didn't.
healthy.
Jesus didn't.
But to ask God for those people in your life who are your encouragers, you can encourage them, who are in the church. And I have a little crew of women who I think they're all older than me, but we meet as much as we can. We try to do weekly, but that has taken a long time for me to come to this kind of spot where I have this little crew. But then I also have group of girls like within the staff. I have, it's just, I feel like there's a time and a place, and it's more variety and beauty than I think maybe what we grow up thinking, like, oh, we have to have a BFF who she has the other half of the heart and I do, and we always have to do
or
everything
that we're going to be
together.
best friends with everybody.
Right.
Which is kind of maybe the expectation that you feel can be put
As
on
a
you in
pastor's
ministry.
wife.
Yeah.
It's true. It's so true. And so I think it really, like what Solomon asked for was above anything, he asked for wisdom. And I think that within friendships and relationships is so important, just asking God for wisdom within connection with people and discernment. And that's so key.
And I think too, like you have to be okay. And I'm not speaking for you. I'm now speaking just for me. I know I'm disappointing somebody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not going out of my way to do that, but fundamentally to be in ministry in the public eye in any way, you could have 100 people in your church and someone's going to want more from you than you can give.
Mm-hmm.
If you allowed your church and your staff and your to dictate the amount of you that they would get access to and the amount of friendship that they're going to get from you, and that, well, goodbye marriage, goodbye your kids having the parent they're supposed to have, goodbye you having emotional health and any boundaries, goodbye, like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that your church wouldn't hate you or hate that. They just would all have their own needs they would be wanting to get. And so someone has to draw those boundaries, and it has to be you with the Holy
Right.
Spirit's wisdom. And I think you have to know who to invest into, like you're saying, based on that advice. And you're going to trial and error and get it wrong. And I guess the only thing I would chime in by way of addition to your beautiful answer was, when you get hurt, not if you get hurt, when you get hurt in a friendship situation in ministry, don't pull back and not trust the next one.
Yeah.
Because that's so easy. I had a dream last night. I haven't told you this. I had a dream last night of someone I was friends with at one era in the Taylor Swift eras of our life that is not currently a friendship in. And in the dream, this person physically attacked me, bumped
Whoa.
into me in town. I haven't seen the person in years, but physically hurt me.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
this is how much some of that stuff lingers in our
Oh,
subconscious.
It's true. It's
Of like
so true.
the disappointment that has been there. And that's not, there's no axe needing to be buried. It just is this, it was what it was, isn't what it is.
It just shows like the conflict resolution that we need
just
in the
hangs
back
out.
of our brain.
The
It's like,
closure we crave.
no,
but-
that's so good.
But to still trust, to still love,
And I think also as a pastor's wife, I think the atmosphere that we set of warmth and grace and invitation and welcome, like I think that's so huge. And not that we have to be best friends with everyone, but I think there's a difference between having a welcoming spirit, a welcoming heart, and one of the things that I'm so grateful for just being in the church is that it's so easy to connect people to others. So it's like if you meet someone and you pray for them, you hug them, find out this is a need they have or this is how they want to get connected, you can automatically connect them with someone who's standing right here who wants to connect someone into the church. Like I think that kind of thing too that I've had to learn and grow in is connecting the dots and connecting people with each other and knowing that I'm not going to be the one that is going to make it happen for people, but I can connect them to someone who can help them or connect them to someone else. So I think even that of just being a warm, like welcoming hug, and then let me pray for you, and then let me connect you to this person who wants to help
and
you.
do for one what you wish you could do for all. I love that piece of
Totally.
advice
Yeah.
we've received.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. Love that question. And that's a tension to manage, not a problem to solve.
It's good.
You're never going to feel like you've licked that. I don't know one pastor, I don't know one leader who feels like, yeah, it's all perfectly
We
sorted
got
out.
this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just an ongoing evaluation of boundaries, of areas, of levels of intimacy, of I mean, Paul even says, don't lay hands on someone suddenly. So if that's true for ministry, why wouldn't that be true for friendship? There's a sense that you have to
that's good.
see and evaluate and watch and let the Spirit lead you in what level of disclosure you're going to give to somebody. And I mean, Jesus had 3, then 12, then 70, then 500,
Yeah.
right? So And Laz was also not even a disciple, but was also his super pal, right?
Yeah.
Lazarus, Jesus loved. Okay. Like obviously friendship love.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a disciple. So he's what sociologists would call a useless friend, meaning he wasn't looking to Jesus for doing anything. He was in his own industry. Maybe they had a lot in common because they weren't in the same line of work. So don't be afraid to not limit your friendship just to those who kind of, you have the same industry. It's great to have friendships where you feel like this person doesn't want something from me. You know, I don't sign their paycheck. You know what I mean? Not that there can't be friendship within the hierarchy of the church staff or whatever, but there can also be a sense in which it's challenging. So I think when you have the safe place of friendships of people in a different line of work who are like, man, I get it. We've our, our own thing, but we can just let our hair down together. I think I see Jesus hanging out at Lazarus's house and it being just like chill because he can be like, dude, Peter was really giving me the creeps today. You know what I mean? Like, and just being able to unburden his soul to Lazarus in that way.
Well, and
is that too human?
Now that you bring that up, though, I'm thinking back to Jonathan Webb's question about a guy like meeting a girl and having a conversation, because you see, and I'm just immediately picturing Jesus and the Chosen and having Laz be his bestie, but also his connection with Mary and Martha, the women in his life. Like he was so tender and caring, but not in a creepy way. It was very like he loved the women in his life and he needed the women in his life. Like all throughout the Bible, it talks about how there were women who were in Jesus' life who would help him, who would provide, who would roll up with the whole crew of disciples. And I think that as a guy, you can learn so much from how Jesus treated women with a sincere like interest and with no motive,
with a sense of humor.
Yeah, with just kindness. And anyway, I was just thinking about that. Jonathan Webb.
Great retention too, Jonathan. You're bringing it back.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah,
got a lot of questions already.
I could be wrong, actually.
There is no name by that in the system.
All right. The next question comes from Mare on Facebook. And she says, after 46 years of marriage, I found out last May he's been watching porn the whole time. How do I get past the anger? It's affected our sex life beyond what I could express.
Sure. Well, I'm so sorry.
So sorry, Mare.
Of course, in a measured moment, we can't, unpack all the nuances that will hopefully be resolved in counseling.
Yeah.
And all of those things. But all I can say is, even as Christ forgave you, is the power to forgive. Our power to forgive never comes from me having the fortitude to be able to swallow it. My power to forgive, if the relationship's going to, continue, has to come from, I look to Jesus and see him on the cross with all my sins on him. And I look at you and I go, even as Christ forgave me. So I'm not, do you deserve this forgiveness? No, you cheated it on me essentially in this pornographic way for 46 years. You don't deserve that. I didn't do that. So already I'm standing on higher ground than you.
Right.
And if I just look at what you've done and what I've done, I'm not going to forgive you. And I'll have no power to forgive you. But when I look over at Jesus and I see him up there with never having sinned and him paying for my bill, now I get to look back at Jennie and go, even as Christ forgave, I can forgive. Because I'm not finding the power from what I've done and you've done. It's what he's done that I can give you that forgiveness.
Amen.
So that's the smallest tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
But that's the strength.
Yeah. That's
going to be ultimately undergirding your decision to forgive, that you don't base it off of he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. And there's a lot of, and let's not conflate, like that word?
Yeah, it's a good word.
Forgiveness and trust. Forgiveness can come from Christ and you choose. Trust has to be earned back. And it's going to, for 4 decades plus of treachery, there's going to take a lot of time to build back trust. Yeah. And don't think that just because you've forgiven, that trust is, you lose trust in buckets and you build trust in droplets. He has lost a lot of trust, and that's going to take time, drop by drop by drop by droplet, to fill back a bucket that can be lost again like that. Yeah. And it may take a time for you, having forgiven him, aren't going to be comfortable with him having unmonitored internet time, or, whatever that's going to look like. You can walk through that with counselors and with pastors, but that's going to take time. And just as the event of that can be forgiven, so also is the damage that was done to you through that betrayal.
Yeah, it's a good word. Well, we pray for you, Mayor, and your marriage and your heart.
All right. The next one comes from YouTube, from Jeremy Jackson. He says, my friend has a 4-year-old named Kaylee. Out of nowhere, a switch flipped and her emotions are often on the edge. Being parents of 4 girls, can you give us some helpful tips for navigating it?
Well, sounds like a great girl. Yeah, man, it's so fun. All the seasons, because now I've got Olivia, who's 19, and Clover, who's 13. But we've successfully, and I, as the dad, have gotten to walk all these girls of our daughters through the ages of the emotion, and the waves of emotion are so intense and changing.
And that's
constantly.
Just me.
Yeah. Well, you're in a different category, sister. But there's a delight to it. But I also have had to learn just to have. Okay, here's how I would say it. You have to have more travel in your springs. If you're in a race car that's just kind of really, tight suspension, it's going to be so challenging to, it's like you have to have more travel in your springs throughout the emotional waves and not take so seriously everything they say.
Yeah.
I think early on with the waves of emotion, when they first would show up, I was just like, whoa, hold on 1 second. And I wanted to talk about that. And it's like, she doesn't mean that. Where's that coming from? She doesn't know. So it's now I'm just like, and just kind of like let more slide.
I think in earlier years, it was a lot of like, let's be kind. Like, let's say this different, or, kind of because we're training them to navigate these things and to know like, hey, this is okay. You feel like this. I see that. Like, I think we all want to be known. We want to be seen. We want to know that what we're going through is like being seen by someone. So like having that kind of conversation is
totally.
Too.
And there's a place for all that you're saying. I'm saying from a dad to a little girl and walking to the present day.
Yeah.
Just, not being as shockable. Wait, what do you mean? You feel this? It's like, yeah, but she might not feel that in 2 minutes. So this is what she feels in this moment. And I think even that does apply to you too as well. At being less like, what? Now we have to talk about that. It's like you felt it, you said it, and on it went. As opposed to like, wait a minute, that was a big. You know what I mean? And I think just, hey, just roll. Got some travel in my springs. Got some, and like Olivia, it's like called me today, called me out as her Valentine. I'm just like that. That's amazing. Like,
I love it
to get to that, and there's her and I went through so many things, and she got the worst version of me because I had never been a dad to a daughter,
Me too.
And I feel like hopefully we've grown. I've gotten better at it now. But like the waves of a woman's emotions, I respect. Like, they say never turn your back on the ocean. I'm just like, because the ocean will destroy you. I'm like, I have such respect and the fear of God in my heart over a woman's emotions.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to wear my floaties. I've got SPF on my nose. I'm telling you,
Sun
like,
hat.
I see Clover, I see Daisy, like they're cute and sweet, and you are too. But man, there is so much you guys are dealing with, and just to get a little peek of it, and then, for me to if you're unsuspecting and they'll pounce on you, they'll eat you up and spit you out. But you just kind of roll with it, love them, just be a little bit less shockable, deal with what you need to deal with.
Yeah, but I think your presence, yes, with the ups and downs, and maybe not getting it right or whatever, your presence is what is powerful in their lives. And I was just talking with someone who was saying that they love how you, they love getting to see you as a dad, because they see you with your daughters in a way that she never experienced because she didn't have a dad. And your presence is powerful. And so I think that is just, even like for the question, like for presence of just holding her and being like, hey, it's going to be okay, or whatever. I mean,
And
I
whatever
think
you're really thinking about the emotion, just bottling.
hold
that
on,
up.
hold
That's
on
what
to
I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah.
Because
It'll pass.
If what I would early on, like latch down and like, let's talk, we have to talk. And then by the time like now it's created 3 other giant spin-off fights that it wasn't, it would have just been its own thing. It would have just gone out into the atmosphere and dissipated eventually.
Yeah. It's true.
But like I latched on and like needed like made an issue. Well, no, not in my house. You know, like whatever it is, like, you know, that guy, like just. So, yeah, just keep it light, keep on your toes, you know, don't turn your back on the ocean. That's my advice there.
Back your wife up.
Of course.
I'm just saying.
Goes without saying.
When your wife's having a hard time with a daughter, like.
Oh, no, I always like, that's on YouTube. You guys figure that out. When there's 2 emotionally charged women, yeah. What I want to do is come get in the middle of that and get punched from both sides.
What I want you to do is before you leave, say, listen to your mom, and then run away.
Yeah, that's, but do run away. The day that your wife is frothing and your daughter is frothing, back away slowly and go to Taco Bell.
Don't make eye contact.
No. And leave quietly and inconspicuously.
And hopefully you have a son to take it with you.
That's why people do things like ice fishing, man.
Oh, no.
Yes.
To avoid their angry wives?
No.
Oh.
The dual conflict.
Oh, the dual conflict. That makes sense.
All right, what's next?
I'll keep that in mind when you go ice fishing next time.
Sorry, that one took me out a little bit. Next up, Go8Boy on Instagram wants to know, after a really hard life event or struggle, what are some ways that you know that to know that you are truly healed and not just distracted by life?
Measuring healing is a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Markers to measure healing. I mean, when it comes to a wound, you have, you know, you've dealt with the initial infection. You're seeing new skin grow. It's no longer sensitive to the touch.
You don't need the same medicines it did at the very beginning.
If we could see the inner wounds, we would have similar things. So we have to sort of measure healing with different metrics, don't we?
That's good.
So if using as a case study, our date night, the trauma of a tragedy on that, the first time we cried into oatmeal at Buffalo Cafe, but we did it.
Yeah.
You know, to the present day where we will go out and not even think sad thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So there's a measurement of healing. The spectrum is everything in between. How could we ever go on a date night not even thinking a sad, so somewhere in between, there were steps and stages of, it didn't feel like healing when we were weeping into our blueberry. I don't even know if we ate our oatmeal. We just cried into it and then left.
I think so.
The whole date lasted 17 minutes. Okay. That didn't look like a victory, but we were healing. The resolve to decide to go, and Clover crying, don't leave us. And us thinking, oh my God, how can we leave a child? We lost you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a victory. So it's like, we measure healing. So if you take fully healed and you take the event today, and we have to find and believe for steps of healing along the way, and then celebrate what doesn't feel like, you know, when a wound's like still gross, but it's not infected, that's measured, that's healing there.
Right.
So whatever the healing is in your life, whether it's abuse or, you know, you had someone abandon you, or, you know, it was self-inflicted wounds, or, and then go to a place where there's fully healed, and try and chop up the steps into stages and celebrate the heck out of even what doesn't feel like it's worthy of being celebrated.
Wow. That's a brilliant answer. And I think the answer is you just keep showing up to the little things. Because that's not going to feel like healing. So, but if you show up, that's actually healing right before you. If you show up to the next thing, if you're, you know, it's kind of like these little tiny little wins. And I love that you said celebrating those things. And it looks different for different people, but like being in a place where you realize, hey, this is part of our healing right here.
And think about this. Like if you've done 30 counseling appointments, and I don't know what your issue is, you're talking about But if you did between now and fully healed, let's say it took 13 or 17 counseling appointments, and between then times journaling and gratitude and hard conversations and less time on your phone, whatever it would take to get you healed, or closer to healing, healed like definitively, like the door shut, I was healed. It wouldn't feel like after your first counseling appointment or whatever it was, there was much done. But even that act of obedience is washing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it hurts more to open an exposed wound than even to leave it covered.
Oof.
But we all want it to be so quick. Like you just want to look at the counselor's office and go, if this counselor's office was better, I would be healed sooner. Like they're just, we're like what C.S. Lewis talks about church. He goes, the devil, this is screw tape letters. He says the devil wants you looking around at church going, these people aren't even cool. They have bad breath. Look at his shoes are dirty. And to think, surely if I was in a better church, I would, and he wants you to think that. Yeah. So you go find a different church. So and then eventually write it off because it's also normal. But the means of grace are normal. And that's the beauty. It's about the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And you just lean in, trust the process, and keep moving. You watch God do miraculous things in your life with your little church group with people with bad breath and squeaky shoes and, the counselor's office that's like, why is this so weird in here? The weird wood and strange plant. Because the devil would love you obsessing over what doesn't matter.
Totally.
So you miss out on what is within your reach.
Yes. That's such the human way. Like if us left to our own devices, that's what we would always do. We would fixate on the things that don't matter.
I probably need a new counselor. I'd be better off if I had a different counselor that wasn't, look at his teeth are crooked. What? I can't counsel me with crooked teeth.
Wow, that's very, very true.
And it's the devil, man. He wants you to just be like, oh, if I had a better counselor, I'd do better. If my wife wasn't so chewing nuts all the time. Right? And if
I was chewing nuts earlier and he was so offended. But then I swished sparkling water in my mouth and he was equally annoyed by that.
Correction. She was chewing nuts during our sound check with our ears in.
I had to cover all the bases and make sure that I was being heard.
You were being heard in all the wrong ways. I'm just saying. So if we focus on all those peripherals, that's the screw tape letters, by the way. And it is shocking. Like this guy gets saved and he's trying to go, he's like, don't worry, just get him to focus on how squeaky the guy's shoes are next to him.
Gosh.
Get him to focus on, they did that song last week. Get him to just think, oh man, if this church had better community or the preaching was deeper, just get him to focus. And the demon's like, oh my God, yeah, let's get him to focus on all that. And he'll miss the fact that the King is among us.
Dang.
He'll miss out on the fact that God's given us the means for grace and that it's still jars of clay. Because we all think if it was like this, we would be further along.
Wow.
Right?
Yes. And I also think that the way we see healing or the way we perceive what healing should be for us too, because some of us, God does miraculously heal, physically, but also even emotionally or mentally, it's like, oh, he heals. But then for most of us, it's a process where that we know the point of the beginning of the healing process, but it's just a constant learning and growing and failing and messing up and going and so the process even I think can mess with us because
it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah, and we think that we should be at a certain point, or we should be this, or if we would only be this, then we could be this. And I think that we have to trust God's process in our life.
That's great. Can we end on a nice light note? Is there any what sort of winch should I get from Jennie?
I actually had a light note queued up.
You were reading
job,
the room.
Jack.
You were reading
Yes.
the room so well.
All right.
But healing is slow, man. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah. All right. The next one comes from Pat Houston on Instagram, and he wants to know, what is your craziest youth ministry story? You guys used to serve in youth ministry.
What a good question.
Yeah. So we want to know your craziest youth ministry story.
Well, first of all, not to Jesus juke you, but I still am in youth ministry. I still very much consider
That's
myself
good.
actively engaged in youth ministry.
Burn.
So to refer to my youth ministry era as though it were a long ways away, you don't graduate past youth ministry in the body of Christ if you're into what Jesus is into.
Ooh, good word.
He still wants them little kids coming to him, you know? Okay, so, you mentioned lock-ins earlier. That's definitely on the list.
I hated him.
But perhaps Jennie and I, months married, 4 months married.
When we went to Macedonia.
We led a mission trip to Macedonia. We had to drive through Serbia, and it was so hot.
3 months married.
It's 100 degrees. We had to bribe the border. The people who set this mission trip up said it's kind of sketchy going through the Serbian border. We were in a bus. And so we're going to buy a bunch of extra water. And then if they give us any trouble, we'll just bribe them with all this extra water. And it worked like a charm. They would never board the bus. We would just pull up the guard thing. They wouldn't even want to see our passports. We would just give them all this water. And they would be like, yeah, go ahead. They would just be so happy with all the bottles of water.
But we also had to drink hot sparkling water.
I bought all sparkling water. Jennie was not impressed. So we were drinking
this was
hot.
a really rough learning point in our marriage, leading youth ministry together.
Yeah, it was tough.
And there were so many things that went wrong, or it was just hard.
When we had a free day and I talked to the guide and said, can we do something fun? And he's like, like what? I was like, I don't know, like go swimming. But somehow in the translation, it got missed that it was like a hospital pool. And so we were swimming in this pool, but there were so many sick people getting brought in, like to do like sick therapy, like literally crutches, wheelchairs. There was a ramp. They were just bringing sick people in, waiting for the moving of the water so they could be healed.
I didn't go in the pool, but I was watching all of this happening.
So many Band-Aids and bandages floating around in the pool. It was awful, awful. And I have photos of it, and like the pool deck was just covered in crutches and like gauze, and he was like, the guy was like, "Is this good? Is this a good free day for you guys? You're swimming and you're swimming in the pool," and I was like, just constantly throwing up in my mouth while we were swimming around this. It was like a floating hospital.
But what got you out was a floating
clump of
hair so connected to a Band-Aid,
connected to gauze. Just gauzy hair and like probably someone's scalp. Dude, I'm so over that story being still in my brain.
It's never going to leave.
If I could sever just that story off, if I could be an innie with an outie on that story. I'm like, dude, are you an innie or outie? Well, I'm innie in every regard, but the hospital bathtub story, outie. And I would never punch into that story.
Oh my gosh.
We used to do an event called The Weekend where we would, like Baptists call it Disciple Now or D Now when it was the era where you had to shorten every word to be aggressive and violent. And we would like have costumes and all the teams would wear these
games.
Costumes.
That was fun.
I was the Phantom of the Opera. It was right when that movie came out. It was a big deal back in the early 2006s, you know. Remember that movie?
Yes.
It's a great movie. It's really held up.
Just so many adventures. Like when we were doing youth ministry in California and I was super pregnant with Olivia and we did a camping trip on the beach and I remember like sleeping. I don't even think we did mats, like sleeping mats back then. We just did sleeping bag on the ground. Luckily, it was sand. Luckily, it was sand. Sandy. I might have dug like a hole for my belly.
Very pregnant.
Oh, I was so pregnant.
To be sleeping on the earth. Your husband should have done better. Got you a mat of some sort. I didn't know how to do camping right. We got registered at Target for our wedding.
Yeah.
And we registered for a bunch of camping stuff.
But we didn't really camp at that point in our life.
I didn't know about a mat.
No.
Builds character.
All that to say, I love that season of our life. I love what we're doing now with Movement Conference, and I love what God's called us to now. But I look back and just think I'm so grateful for the people that were in our life back then, what we got to be a part of. Like, I'm just grateful for that era.
And on that note, if you haven't signed up for Movement Conference, family groups, youth groups from all over the country coming to Montana summer. Who we got coming this year? We got Louis Giglio, Sadie Robertson Huff.
Yep.
Elevation Rhythm.
Elevation Worship. Rhythm. Oopsies.
Cody Carnes,
Carrie Job.
Carrie Job,
Taya.
Sean Johnson,
Mhm.
Fresh Life Worship. And we are going to be serving at it. And you could just come serve. So you don't have to be a youth group or a family group. You could come serve via.
We were talking with a couple who was visiting our church. They're from Canada. And they're like, we want to be a part of it. We just don't know how. And you're like, come serve. Like,
all you have to do is go to mvmnt25.com,
Mhm.
stake your place, get your group sign up, or sign up to serve right there.
yeah, do
Easy as pie.
it. Look,
Okay.
we're both shaking our feet.
Jennie, did we love this time?
I loved this time. Did you love this time?
I thought it was great. I thought it was fabulous.
Well, we just want to thank you for joining us. If you're still watching, but I know you'll also be listening later on our podcast. But thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jax. Thank you, Braden and Owen and Nate. Alicia and Leon are gone, but we just thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
It took too long.
This has been really, really, really sweet, and we can't wait for the next one.
I like the live aspect. I like the later aspect. It's all good things.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get to your question, we'll try and save some of the better ones and use them later. And
yeah.
Anyhow, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to swing by LeviLusko.com and JennieLusko.com to see what's going on in our world.
And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And in the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media.
Jennie and Levi Lusko out.
Access more